Today we are here to talk about important skills for find a good job, such as writing your resume and cover letter. Without any hesitation, I invite our guest speaker today, Stacy. If you're here, please join us. Uh, as usual, I always gather all the questions, and I have every question ready here. So when Stacy joins us, I will turn off the comments in order to stop her from distractions, and I will ask all your questions during that. Hello, everyone. Hi, Dalia. Uh, Stacy. Okay, I'll find you, and I send a. Hi, Stacy. How are you?
Hi, Nadia. I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's an honor and pleasure to have you here. Thanks for accepting our invitation tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Uh, it's the same thing for us. Please introduce yourself for our
hmm
followers. I'll
Yeah.
turn off the comments. Just a second. Okay.
So, for those of you who don't know, I am a career coach, meaning that I mostly work with people to help with their resumes, their cover letter, their LinkedIn, as well as interview prep, but mostly resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn to help them prepare for the job search. Because right now, as you all know, we're in this time where everything is really uncertain and people have trouble finding jobs more than ever. So,
Exactly.
I'm really, yeah, I really is like completely, new territory right now. But that's kind of what made me want to become a career coach because I was working as a college coach, meaning that I kind of did the same thing right now that I'm doing right now, but for college students. And I realized that a lot of them struggled with these same skills. And then when coronavirus happened, it was every day like getting emails from people asking like, I can't get a job, what do I do?
It's
And
a
I
struggle.
realized, yeah, exactly. It was a huge struggle. And I realized I had these skills from working at my university, like helping people with their resumes that I was able to take into this new field. So that's why I do what I do now as a career coach.
It's very helpful. And also, can you tell us a bit about your background, your job experiences as well?
hmm Yeah, of course. So I initially started out, I'm from Philadelphia, so I went to Temple University and I started out working as a writing tutor there. So mostly doing academic essays, but maybe 30-40% like resumes, cover letters, and personal statements for grad school. And I realized those were really my favorite experiences. And then I actually went on to become a teacher for a little bit. I
Oh,
taught, yeah, I taught like middle and high school. And then I realized like that age group was a little bit too young, but I still really liked working one on one with people and helping people.
you're kind
So
of a
that's
teacher
how,
now as well with coaching.
kind of,
Yeah,
exactly. It's very similar. So that's why I got into like college coaching and then career coaching. Now I'm currently getting my master's in higher education, so I can continue down the education path, but hopefully now in a college setting. So working as like a college advisor or a career advisor at a university.
such a long journey you have.
It's really, yeah, it seems to have gone by very quickly, but yeah,
Yeah.
there were a few stops along the way.
So, Stacy, the problem is we don't have a job. We
hmm
are looking for a job. What is important in this journey?
Wow, so many things. So I would say there are many, many aspects to finding a job that are important. But to boil it down, really the main three things are networking, because even your coldest uh, connection, like even the person that you already know, but you met them like 3 years ago and you haven't really talked since then, is better than a complete stranger. So
Yes,
that's why it's
that's
really,
true.
really important. Exactly. And that's why it's really important to like stay in touch with people and to remember everyone in your contacts, which is why LinkedIn is so important because
Mhm.
it's all right there. But I think along with that, of course, like you need to be able to market yourself and brand yourself in a way that really stands out from all of the competition. So that's why like having the profile and having a really good CV, a really good resume is important. So really those two things are like the main pieces. But then on top of that, just being persistent, I think, and
Yeah.
just not being
I,
afraid to, yeah, not being afraid to
yeah.
keep going and not settle for
Don't give
like,
up. Just
yeah, exactly. Like don't give up and don't think that you have to settle for some job that is really not a good fit. You know, like sometimes we take jobs because we need money and that's okay,
yeah,
but ideally like we want to keep trying for the job that really fits our skills.
that's true.
Mhm.
It's very true. And how about let's talk about writing a resume
Mm,
specifically, because I think it's the most asked questions, and also everybody has this problem.
mhm,
Uh, what is a good resume? What makes a resume stand out from the others?
mhm. So there are a few things that people usually don't know about resumes. And the main thing is the applicant tracking system, which means that people, when you submit your resume, the first thing that usually happens, especially if it's a big company, if it's a small company with like 10 people in it, then different story. You know, someone might
Hmm.
actually look at it. But if it's a bigger company, what almost always happens is the resume gets scanned by the software, which is the ATS software, the applicant tracking software, and then they decide from that scan if the resume has the right keywords and the right length of experiences to actually be seen by someone. So with that in mind, a lot of times people they think they have to have like a really like long resume or a really like colorful one to stand out or
Pretty.
something like that. Yeah, really pretty. But I think in the end that doesn't really matter. The thing that matters most is having really consistent formatting and having the right type of layout so that the text gets picked up, you know. And also if a human reads it too, you want it to be readable. Like you want it
Yeah,
to
that's it.
fully explain what you're about.
About the profile picture. Do we need
Mhm.
any a picture in our resume,
On the resume itself.
on the resume itself? Because many people think that if they put a picture, it can make it prettier and stand out more.
Mhm. That's a good question. So I think if the resume is just a Word document or like otherwise just text, having a picture of yourself is not a bad thing. Like you said, it actually puts a face to the name and people are more likely to connect. I think where people get into trouble is when the whole resume is an image, like when they do it in Photoshop and maybe like the the words are in like these boxes, you know, and then there's like
Mhm.
images around them and things like that. But just having a picture inserted at the top is good.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So because I find it a little bit unusual in Australian market. Maybe like in different countries is different um, about this. And also another question.
Mhm.
What are the right order for topics in our resume?
Mm.
Because should we bring education first and then work experience, or work experience first and then education, and
Mhm.
all the things like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it has everything to do with whether or not you graduated recently. So
Mhm.
if you just graduated university like less than a year ago, it is totally okay to have your education at the top. Or if you're creating a resume, a CV for graduate school, then you probably want to have that at the top to show that you have your bachelor's degree.
Graduate, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what they're looking for. But if you've been out of school for longer than a year and most of your resume is going to be your work experiences anyway, then I think it can be at the bottom. So if it's a more, like most people, if it's a more traditional CV or traditional resume, you'll just have your, of course, your header with your name and your contact information, and then you'll have some form of a summary that says, you know, I have 5+ or however many years of experience doing like skill, and then some of your passions and your interests, and then you get into the work experiences. So as you go down, it should get less and less important. Whatever is most important for people to know, you want to always have at the top.
Mhm. About writing the profile part, because I think it's very important that motivate people to write the rest of your resume,
Hmm.
what should we do to be perfect in that part?
Hmm. Yeah, I think this is where people have the most challenge because they know what they did at work usually, so they
Yeah,
can just
exactly.
that.
And it's
But
so hard to write it in one paragraph.
yeah, exactly. So I think this is really where everyone always says tailor your resume to the job, like depends on the job, right? And that this is really where that comes into play because when you look at the job description, it's always going to have like this long part where it talks about like the role and what exactly you'll do and like maybe even the culture of the company. Like they'll say they value people who can multitask and work well under pressure. Like these are just some examples, but you can take those phrases from the job description and really use them to write the summary, the profile at the top, because the main point of that top part is to show that you're a good fit. The rest of the resume is to show that you have the experience and you're qualified. But the top part is to show that you would get along well on their team. So that's why it's kind of nice because they have everything there that they want from a team member, like a good team
Hmm.
player or whatever. So you can really just take that and almost have it word for word be on your profile, which I know sounds like cheating. And people
Yeah,
sometimes ask
like
me,
I
like,
thought that maybe we should paraphrase or something if it's a long list of skills, but
yeah,
okay.
yeah, exactly. Like you shouldn't just like copy and paste the whole thing, but definitely like highlight maybe like four or five like of those keywords, those key traits from what they want, and then like put it into the profile in some way.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Hmm.
And also about the work experience. People ask
Hmm.
that should we mention our role by detail, and do we need a specific time of the work, duration of the work, and things like that?
Hmm. Um, Again, I know this answer is not the best, but I think it depends, of course. So, of when you're in school or when you've recently graduated, I think the rules are different because sometimes you'll hear things like if you're there for less than a year, you shouldn't put it. But then if you're somebody who's like 24 or 25, you're like, well, all of my jobs have been, or most of them have been for like short periods of time. So if you are a university student or like recently graduated, I think it's okay to have work experiences that are shorter, like say a couple months maybe if you had like a summer internship or a summer job. But once you get out of that and you have let's say maybe like 3 to 5 years of experience working full time, then you should always just keep experiences that you've had for longer than a year. So again, it really depends, but for the most part, like if it's been shorter than like 2 months, I wouldn't put it because usually then it's like
Hmm.
an event or something like that, right? That you helped facilitate or you like volunteered. So then that can just go in the volunteer section or in like the other activity
So we
section
should
where,
separate them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how does that answer the question?
Yeah, perfectly. And also about the volunteer jobs and also the casual jobs that might not be relevant to the um, future job that they want to
Mm-hmm.
find. Should they mention it in the resume or it's not necessary?
Mm. So this is a question I get a lot because some of my clients that I work with, they only have those casual jobs or those jobs
Yeah.
that, yeah, exactly, that are there to not really, they're there to make money. So I think with that, sometimes there can be a, like, say you're applying for like a marketing job and you can have one section of your resume that says marketing experience and maybe the jobs in there are not really like full-time paid like traditional experiences, but you still like helped with an organization's marketing initiative as a volunteer or you like as a student had some kind of marketing project. That's where that would go. And
Hmm.
then underneath that you could have another section that says like other experience or experience continued, and then that's where you would put in those like casual
Casual.
jobs. Yeah, because
It should be
it's
as relevant as possible.
Exactly. It should be as relevant as possible, and you should still, like, going with this marketing example, you would still really emphasize the parts that talk about your marketing experiences. So,
Yeah.
talking about sales and like your experience doing, I don't know, any type of promotion at your job to tie it back all in. But I think it can be like lowered down, if that makes sense.
And can you please tell us the contents, like titles that we need, different parts of the resume by title,
Hmm.
so
Like,
we don't miss out anything?
yeah, just a rundown of the different sections.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's super helpful if you're watching this to just take the time to write down all of the experiences that you have. So after these categories are out, you can like start thinking, okay, what do I have? So then when you put together your resume, you're not thinking every single time, you have like a sheet with all of it. So, of course, we want to talk about our education, obviously. We want to have our work experiences and volunteer experiences. Those are usually separate, but like I just said, if you only have like very limited experiences, you can kind of like blend them together. And then also organization involvement at your school, like student involvement, that I think that would be the title, as well as different awards. So as you go down, it becomes less, not less important, but definitely like shorter and shorter. So
Mhm.
you have your awards, your recognition, any type of like, I guess, organizations that you're involved in that you're really proud of. And then at the very bottom, like you can include things like test scores and things like that if you want. Like it it really depends and it's up to you, but I would say this is the main breakdown of everything that you should have.
Also about the education part, do we need to mention that how much was our GPA and what was the university and where was it located?
Hmm. So with the education part, I would say that it's going to be the university, the degree that you got, and then if you had like a concentration of study, like a major. But I would not say that you need to even include the year or your GPA unless your GPA is something you're really proud of, and of course you want to talk about it. But
Mm.
otherwise, like you don't really need to include it. And you also don't need to include the year because sometimes people will have bias against you for your age and they're able to guess your age based on the year that you graduated. So I would just try to avoid that if possible.
Excellent. Do you need anything else? Do you think we need to discuss anything else about resume? Any final points that you have?
Um, I don't think so. I would say that that's pretty much everything. And I would say the main thing for resumes is that people really, really just take the time to make sure their resume is a good fit for that job. Because the main mistake that's made is they have like one resume or like one basic type of resume for each type of job that they're applying to, but they don't really take the time to really look at every job description and say from the hiring person's point of view, what are they looking for? Like they just send it without even thinking. Like, oh, this is old resume, but whatever, like it's fine. Like always look at it from the hiring manager's perspective and what they might want.
Exactly. And also about the font size and all of those things, grammatical mistakes. How about them? What's the name
Yeah.
of the file and should it be in PDF or Word?
Hmm. Yeah, these are all really good questions. I think so. The fonts, there are a few like main fonts that you can't go wrong with, like the Times New Roman. I personally really like Helvetica because it's very modern and very clean. I,
Helvetica?
yeah, Helvetica New, I
Mm.
think is what it's called, and a few others like Calibri and all the basic fonts are fine. In terms of size, though, I would say anywhere between 11 to 12 as like the biggest, and then 9.5 or 10 as the smallest. So the range is very small because if you get too small, then you can't read it and it's difficult for
Yeah.
people. Yeah, and then with the Word or PDF question, I would say traditionally, like people say PDFs are the best, but like as we talked about earlier with the ATS software, it can be really hard sometimes for the ATS to scan the PDF. So uh, if you're just cold applying, like you're on Indeed or like some other site like that, then I personally would recommend using a Word document.
Even for LinkedIn?
For LinkedIn, do
Yeah,
you mean applying for jobs on LinkedIn?
on LinkedIn, yeah.
Um, I would say I would say a PDF. Yeah,
PDF, yeah.
LinkedIn is usually better than other
PDF based, yeah.
sites. Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
perfect. And let's jump to the cover letter part.
Hmm.
That's the part I really don't know how to make it.
Yeah, a lot of people they struggle with the cover letter.
I really don't know what they want. What should we write in it?
Have you like at university and things like that, did they ever talk about the cover letter or was it not really
Yeah, of
discussed?
course, but when
Hmm.
you start writing, like it's a bit difficult.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Tell
true.
us about it. Like, what should we mention in it?
Hmm. It's always so interesting when I hear that because I think the cover letter is easier than the resume. Like I don't know why, but I think
I think you're good
because
in writing.
may maybe, but I think
Yeah.
the thing that like really helps with the cover letter is having the outline already out. So what I mean by that is usually people they overthink it and they think they have to write like something from scratch every time.
Mhm.
But with cover letters, it's beautiful because there's a very clear template that you can follow pretty much every time. And there's this method that has 3 paragraphs. So the first paragraph and the last one are very simple. Like the first paragraph always says something like, I'm very excited to apply for this role at this company. I learned of the job through, and then you put in how you learned through the job. Maybe you know someone or you have like some online connection to it. And then the last sentence is going to say something like, I believe that due to my like blank, due to my,
The different
our,
skills.
exactly, like different skills or different experiences, like my 3 years of experience working at the Gap, my like strong passion for marketing and social media engagement, and my admiration of this company makes me an excellent fit for this position. And then the reason why you have that sentence that says like blank is because then in the second paragraph, that's where you really get to elaborate on those skills and talk about where you got them from, how you exercise them, what kinds of results you got. So I think that is the part that people struggle with the most. Would you say like actually talking about your experiences and writing it out is where you kind of got tripped up in the past?
No, it's I was talking about the template that you
Oh, the whole
explained it
thing.
properly. Yeah, yeah, like it
Okay.
was a very good thing. And how about the middle part?
Yeah, the middle part is the most challenging, of course, because there's no script for it. You kind of have to just like write, which is
Gotcha.
yeah, got him. But I think the there is still kind of like a template that you can use. So
Mhm.
I would say with each experience, say you're going to talk about like 2 or 3, you talk about each experience for like 3 to 4 sentences. And so you think of that middle part as broken up into the 3 experiences, and then each experience broken up into these sentences that introduces the situation. Like during my time at the Gap, let's say, I was responsible for doing this, and this, like just very brief. Then you kind of bring them into a story in the second sentence where you either bring up like a type of challenge that you were able to overcome. Like, let's say, like I frequently dealt with customer, inquiries and customer problems. And then in the third sentence, you talk about the result that you brought. It's like, despite that, or despite challenges coming up with this event, I was able to sell like however many merchandise, or I was able to like increase customer engagement and create a friendly environment. It doesn't have to be numerical, like it doesn't have to be the quantitative result that everyone always really talks about a lot, but it has to
Yeah.
be something that you're really proud of. So then you just like rinse and repeat that, like the problem, or sorry, not the problem, the context, the problem, and then the solution that you had at your jobs, you just repeat it throughout that middle paragraph.
Oh, okay, I see.
Hmm.
That's much easier than what we thought.
What were you taught?
Like everybody think that it's a big thing to write a resume and like start writing it. But actually when you start writing, it's not that difficult.
Hmm. It's
Yeah.
really not.
Yeah, and also, Stacy, because many people that write resume and cover letter in English, it's not their mother tongue,
Hmm.
and there are many struggles in that because usually maybe they use some simple words, some simple sentences that can be decorated with fancy words and be more academic and more professional.
Hmm.
What are those keywords that we can uh, add and use mostly in our resume or
Mm.
cover letter, like
Hmm.
to make it more professional?
Yeah, I love that because there are words, and if you want like the whole rundown, you can type into your search engine resume action verbs or action words, and you'll find just pages and pages of these words. So I can just give a
It's a
few
very good
examples.
keyboard.
Yeah,
Keyboard, yeah,
yeah, it's a very good resource. Like there's so many
yeah.
websites that have like just lists and lists of these words. But the thing with action words is they really talk about like what you did in a more specific way. So for example, say you're a hiring manager and you have two cover letters in front of you. And the first one says, I helped people do this. I made, I don't know, sales. Uh, like just really, really vague language, like helped, did, made, very like flat. And then I think what
Yeah.
you're talking about is like the more academic or the more like elevated language, which is like I assisted or I collaborated, I communicated. Um, I think the main skills that every single employer wants are teamwork, communication, organization. Time management is also like a form of organization, as well as just like self discipline. So, as long as you have those words that show those things in your resume and your cover letter at some point, like I organized, I facilitated. Facilitated is like a fancy way of saying organized, basically. As you can tell, this is repetitive. I communicated, just sticking those words in, and you can be repetitive with it too, because sometimes you communicated to different groups of people,
Yeah.
or you had like different types of challenges that you had to overcome, but it was all resolved through communication. So don't be afraid to like feel like you might be a little repetitive because these skills are what they want to see overall.
Okay, excellent. And also, one question that the person asked is about if they have a lot of experiences, how they can paraphrase them and how they can actually summarize them and don't mention everything to make it a long resume
Mm. For the resume or for the cover letter?
for the resume.
For the
And
resume.
we can say it both because they didn't mention which one. We
Hmm.
can talk about both of them.
True. So when you have a lot of experiences, I would say to really just focus in on the three that are most relevant to the job. And what happens for a lot of people is they work at one place for a long time, but they get promoted or they like change roles within the organization. So sometimes they're not sure like how to put that on the resume or on the cover letter either. I think for the resume, it's okay to just have one entry that says like this company, and then you have your roles as like separate, almost like separate jobs. And then because each job is its own job, it's its own set of responsibilities and
Yeah,
skills. Yeah. And I think having that is really powerful because it shows, even if it's not at the same company, like, even if it's just three completely separate jobs, you want to arrange your resume if you have more experience in a way that shows the escalation of responsibility. So you don't just want to have like three of the same types of jobs, even if it's super relevant to the job you're applying for. Ideally, you want to show like first maybe you started out entry level, then you're a manager, then you're like senior advisor, something like that. So going back to the cover letter too, that really comes through when you're talking about the overall, like that last sentence of the first paragraph, where you sort of run down, okay, like I've done this, like I have 5 years of experience in this, my skills are this, and I know these softwares or these programs or, whatever it is. That's just the way to summarize it all in one paragraph so people look at it and say, ah, okay, I know exactly what they're about. Like it's just there. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's true. And someone asked, what is the difference between Canadian and Australian resume? Are there any differences?
Mm. I would say, so I've done some research with Australian resumes because it seems to be at least a little bit different. I think in Australia, it seems like usually there's a references section, which is something that in the United States and in Canada, we don't really do on our resumes. So you either put references available upon request or you just have their contact information there at the
At the end,
bottom.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't know that as an American that that was something that you all had, which is its own thing because then when you write someone down as a reference, you need to contact them in advance. You shouldn't just put them down and be like, oh yeah, my boss, they know me. Because if someone calls them and says like, hello, I'm from this company. How is Nadia as an employee? They're going to be caught off guard and be like, who is this? And it's not going
Yeah,
to create it's not going to create a good first impression. So always ask in advance and prepare your references for any types of questions that people might ask.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as a medical student looking for future research or PA job, how important is it to mention that we were accepted with a high score in very high ranking university or programs?
Keyword accepted, but you didn't go. I'm guessing that was the case.
Ah, yes, I think
Hmm.
that's what I got from this text. Yeah, same thing.
Interesting. Usually, in terms of acceptances, that's not something that people broadcast usually. So if I could talk to this person, I would ask them if you were accepted to like high ranking positions or high ranking universities,
Why you
then
didn't go?
why didn't you go? Yeah, or maybe it kind of sounds to me like maybe the one they went to was not as high ranking because if they went to some school that was high ranking, then they would just talk about that and, you know, that would speak for itself. So it sounds like the situation is kind of individual, but what I will say is that if you say like had to take time off for personal reasons, but you were accepted to these programs, I think it's okay to mention that. Like it's maybe in a personal statement or in the cover letter, because that's something I didn't say as well. The personal statement and the cover letter are really your space to tell your story. So also if you have like a long unemployment gap or some kind of unexplained circumstance that you just want to touch on so that they understand, that is where you would do it. So
Yeah, she asked another question as well. I think we can kind of understand many things about the same question. Second question. Does it have negative effect if we mention programs that we had started in the past but decided not to follow them and to change our route?
That, I think if you can frame it in a way where changing your route ultimately becomes something that's really powerful, then it could work. Like I don't want to say just because you didn't finish something, like you didn't finish school, that you just have to forget about it and ignore it. Like the example that I think of is with my teaching. I did not finish as a teacher. I kind of quit and like tried something else. But I like to talk about that because it shows people that it's okay to try new things. Like it's okay to have a transition. So in this case, I totally think it's okay, even if you like say dropped out of school or had to take time off school, which kind of sounds like that might be what she was referring to. Um, that can be part of a larger story where they say, okay, but after I was able to have new discoveries and learn this about myself, so then I decided to re-enroll or I decided to do this instead.
Oh, okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like we have many questions that we want to do this job in Australia. We start our way in Australia. We want to find, for example, internship, change of job. What should we do? Like, can you help us? Like,
Specific to Australia, I'm just trying to understand the question, like
I
how to
mean, like
find an
if
internship.
they are trying to know that, is there any way that you can help them in this way?
Oh, well, yeah, there's a few things. So if people are interested, of course, like I do offer resume rewriting, resume reviews. Those are two different things. So if you feel like your resume or your CV is already pretty good and you just need like some feedback on it, then that is like at a lower investment. And then of course like the top down, which is where I actually just write it for you and like we get on a call together and just talk about that. I think as you might have seen, like I'm a career coach for creatives, which means that I usually work with people who are more not necessarily like artists and things like that, but who are in fields that require a certain level of creativity, which I think is most fields. So that's
Yeah,
really the type of
exactly.
person I enjoy working with, and I like getting on calls with people to talk about their experiences.
That's perfect. So they can reach out to you and you can work it out
Yeah, exactly.
depending on what they need.
Hmm.
And also, like, I have questions about interview as well. Let's say
Hmm.
our resume and cover letter work properly and we get an interview. In this interview, what should we do? Like, what are the things that make us be the person, the candidate that win the job at the end?
Hmm. The thing that everyone needs to remember is that people want to work with other people that they like. People want to work with their friends. That does not mean that you need to become best friends with the interviewer, but it does mean that they need to like you, which
Yeah,
I think can be scary sometimes because especially people who maybe are socially awkward or more introverted, they don't know what to say and they feel very nervous. So the thing that I like to try in the beginning of the interview is to always just have like some kind of small talk with the interviewer. Like sometimes you'll walk in and they'll just sit you down and say, okay, we have 20 minutes, introduce yourself, like very like
yeah,
down to business, but usually they're not like that. So you want to try to find some type of common interest, and then when they say, so tell me about yourself, that usually signals the start of the real interview, and you can take like that rapport that you already have and just talk like it's somebody that you already know but you haven't spoken to in a long time, so you're just filling them in on what you've been up to lately. That helps like relieve some of the anxiety.
yeah. That's very
Mhm.
good. Small talks.
Yeah, small
Yeah.
talk.
And also, how about the online interview, video interviews? Because I these days, because of COVID-19, especially today, I received another interview that it's they asked me to record a video. What are the
Mhm.
things that we have to consider in this?
First of all, congratulations. You're
Thank you.
just racking up the interviews. I hope it goes well.
Yeah,
And yeah, I would say, of course, a lot of the things are common sense, like make sure you have good lighting, make sure your sound quality is okay. But beyond that, I think when it comes to recorded and online things, that's when it becomes even more important to have notes because at an in-person interview, you can't exactly just read off of your notes that you have. So you just have to sort of go with it more naturally. But with virtual things, that's when you can really, really write down answers to common questions. And in your case, with a recorded interview, think about what you want to say and practice it again and again. And then maybe have your notes like taped up next to your computer or your camera so that you have like almost things to read off of, like a teleprompter, which will
yeah,
make your delivery sound a lot more smooth.
that's good. That's a smart idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about the what we are wearing? Should it be a business attire or smart casual, whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say no matter what, I try to do smart casual of some kind. So like the collar showing because it's a Zoom and honestly people don't know if you're wearing like pajamas or whatever on your on your pants. But yeah, for this top part, you definitely want to have like I would say what you're wearing now is also good. Like just something that shows a little bit of personality, but still professional, still flattering, all of that.
Okay, I see.
Mhm.
Perfect. Um, Let me go through the questions if there's anything that I need to ask now. Um, are there any chance for people in different countries to get a job in another country?
Mm. Yeah, I would say this is something that comes up a lot when you look at jobs and maybe there's a requirement that's like must be a citizen or must have like XYZ, and you feel very like that's
Yeah.
is that something that you've experienced too
Yeah, today
today?
I received like a call interview from Dell company,
Mm-hmm.
and she was very happy with my experience and all, but the problem was that I don't have permanent residency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
that's too bad. It's a shame,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, that is a shame. I think for situations like that, it can be really hard to find something that's a good fit. But with that being said, there are ways on both LinkedIn as well as I think certain other websites, but I don't want to say for sure, where they have very powerful advanced filters. So when you're looking for jobs, you know how you can filter for like certain locations, industries. On LinkedIn, you can even filter for like degree connections, so like only filtering for jobs at places that you know people. There's, I believe, a way to filter like citizen requirements and things of that nature, so it becomes
Is
easier
there?
then. I think so, but the problem is that a lot of companies, they don't disclose it on their job description. Like that's probably what happened to you. You were like, this looks
Yeah,
great,
exactly. It
and
was
then
not
they
in
were
the job
like,
description.
exactly. They were like surprised. So like that is ultimately really frustrating. But I think the main way to just like keep navigating that is to continue using your networks. Because if you know somebody who is able to get a job in another country, they're going to be able to help you out like more than any other, resource or any other way of doing things. Just really following in their footsteps and sitting them down, asking for their advice in an informational interview to see like what works for them.
And ultimately, when you find a job, help others.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the most important part. Turn around and lift up people who are behind you.
exactly. Uh, okay, let me see more. Mm. Someone asked about like his job is to fix the air conditioner uh, systems and working in that field. What are the things that can help him to write in cover letter and his cover letter stands out, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm trying to translate at the same time.
Hmm. Gotcha. I think it really depends on what types of jobs he's applying for. Like, is he continuing to apply for jobs related to the air conditioning field or something else?
I think probably, yeah.
Probably. Okay. Um, so the thing that in a lot of fields also gets, I think, understated too, is the level of passion. So it's easy to say, like, I have these years of experience, I have these skills, but how do you express passion about your job on paper? That's something that also goes back to the hiring manager liking you, because they want people who are excited to be there, who really care about what they're doing and are not just going to sit down in a chair and then leave 8 hours without doing anything. So in this person's case, what they could do is really talk about their journey, like what type of impact does air air conditioning allow them to have, like being a part of other people's ability to relax in a hot summer, like other benefits, like maybe his just yeah, just thinking about what contributes to society and like weaving that in the last paragraph of the cover letter, which is where you really talk about like, thank you so much for reading this. I'm really, really passionate about this field because XYZ. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Here's my contact info. So that's kind of, I think, where he could fit that piece in and it would make him stand out a lot.
Okay, let's talk about LinkedIn profile,
Hmm.
which is almost the most important social media for people who are looking for job.
Yes, it really is, without a doubt.
Yeah, basically, I got all my interviews recently in this last month
Hmm.
through LinkedIn. Tell us about LinkedIn profile. What should we do to have a good LinkedIn profile, stand out from the crowd, and be seen?
Hmm. I love this question. So, when you first go onto someone's LinkedIn profile, what do you see?
A
There's
picture,
yeah, exactly. It's
like cover.
mostly pictures. There's the cover image, there's their photo in the circle, and then you see their name, and then this thing called the headline, which is I think around 150 characters or something like that. There's just whatever you want to put. So in the cover, a lot of people, they'll just put like a, you know, picture of a city or something random. Don't do that, because this is your first impression. So if you have access to Canva, which is a graphic design app, or it's a website, but it's also an app, they have really, really great templates for LinkedIn cover photos, and it's already sized, so you don't have to like crop it or anything. I really suggest people just start there and create like a beautiful cover image for themselves that
related to their job.
Exactly, related to their job. And you can even put text on it. Like I have text on mine that says what it is that I do and is just really colorful and on brand. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the image, of course. Like we've already discussed, having some kind of business casual or smart casual wear in your image, having good lighting, high quality photo, just really basic
Looking
cover.
forward.
Yeah. Look, you'd be surprised. Some people, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I know. I was like,
yeah, you can't even
wearing
see their face.
sunglasses, like,
Yeah, not sure what's going on there, but just showing your face, smiling, looking friendly. And then your name has a headline under it, and that's, I think, where people tend to get really, really tripped up, because the headline is searchable, just like your name. Like when you go into the search box, the headline is taken into account with search. And to make the most of that, what we want to do is to put in the names of the jobs that we want into our headline. What I usually recommend is 3. So back to the marketing example, maybe it's like marketing coordinator, social media specialist, content creator, separated by like a dash or a line of some sort. Because when people and recruiters and hiring managers are looking for people on LinkedIn to recruit and join their team, they're not typing in currently seeking new job, or they're not typing in like current student at this. Like they're typing in marketing coordinator to see who's out there. So even if you're not currently a marketing coordinator, even if you like have limited experience in that field, if that's the job you want, you got to put it in your headline. So that's my advice with just the top part, like the top few things.
something pop up in my mind. The cover around the picture that it's in the LinkedIn says open to work. Is it helpful or it has a negative effect?
I think it's too soon to say for sure, because the open for work feature is something that they started during COVID, if I'm not mistaken, right? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it honestly seems to have any type of impact. I think I don't want to say, just like intuitively, I don't want to say like for sure one way or the other, but knowing what I know about human psychology, it could be negative, just because people,
you're from the lower, you know.
Exactly. Then no, that's really it. Like
You
it's like
downgrade yourself with that kind of.
Yeah, it's like you're broadcasting that you don't have a ton of negotiating power, that you really are desperate for work.
Yeah. I already have it in my account, but I was thinking today, like when I see some other LinkedIn profiles that they are open to work, I don't pay enough attention to them. So that can be the same case for my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like you said, it might come across as, okay, this person will just take anything and I should not like take them super seriously. So, you know, it's okay to have like to be unemployed and to be looking for work, but we want to always have the most like proactive looking profile. And that's why some people, like they say on their headline, like currently seeking new opportunities and things like that. It's kind of the same thing. Like you see that and you might think to yourself, does this person know what they want, or do they just want a job? You know what I mean? Like they don't seem as focused. So that's why we always just want to target everything that we do to our dream roles.
How about the other parts in LinkedIn profile? Should it be relevant to the jobs that we are applying for? Because sometimes we may apply for different roles and people may come and look up your LinkedIn profile from the company.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you do want to target it to your roles that you're currently seeking. But since, like you said, it's more of a general overview of what you've done, your experience section, which is like the resume part of LinkedIn, can really just include everything. Like that's what I recommend. Everything up until a certain point, like maybe not the jobs you had in high school, but um, with the summary, which is the about section that's underneath the top part that we just talked about, I think that's where people can really, really get into what makes them stand out. And this is the part that people struggle with too, because it's kind of like a cover letter on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
exactly. I wanted to say the same thing. It's a
Yeah.
LinkedIn cover letter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LinkedIn cover letter. But again, like there is a structure and it really depends on how you want to brand yourself, how comfortable you are with being vulnerable. Like some people in their about section, they talk about like how in childhood they loved computers and now they're a programmer. Like it can get very deep sometimes, but it doesn't have to be deep. Like you can just say, you know, this is my experience, like this is what I've done. And at the bottom, there's always a part that says like, I'm currently seeking roles in XYZ, and if you want to contact me, this is how you do it. So just kind of inviting people in and saying like, hi, like this is me, almost like your website.
Yeah, that's good. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now and any other tips for LinkedIn profile? Because I know it's very important.
Mm-hmm. As far as the profile itself, I would say for the experiences, like the jobs that you've had, you want to, of course, write something. You don't want to just leave it blank. So some people, they'll just take the bullet points from the resume, which is fine. Other people, they write like a maybe 3 to 4 sentence summary, just talking about what they did and the results that they brought. Um, I would say the most important thing, same thing with resumes too, is to always emphasize your accomplishments, not just making it sound like you copy and pasted the job description in, but really saying like what you in particular did that
It's
no one
different.
else did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Um, it's very good. I think we cover up everything. What I do now is to turn on the comments. So
Mm-hmm.
if anybody else can want to ask their questions,
Okay.
um, we give like 2 to 3 minutes time.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Yeah, one more thing I will say about LinkedIn too is the part at the bottom where people can recommend you and things like that. Really take advantage of that because humans, they love social proof. And when you have a review of you, basically, it is so effective for helping people see that you're an amazing candidate.
Um, okay, they ask a question about, could you please talk about holding a PhD and deadline with being overqualified? I think uh, they mean maybe PhD can overqualify them for the job. Is that
Mm,
true?
hmm This is something I've heard also as a master's student. Some people, they worry that if they graduate with their master's degree, they'll be overqualified. But then that makes me wonder, what types of jobs are they applying for that they would be overqualified? Are there not as many jobs available on their level, like where you need a PhD?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, then honestly, like you should not you usually should not omit the fact that you have a PhD. Like you should put it on there. But I would say for certain jobs, like if you think that having too much education would be a bad thing, it's okay to not include it. You know, like the education is a credential. It's not a part of who you are. So you can like kind of take and leave whatever it is that you need.
Uh, Someone asked about your Instagram ID. They can click up here. I think they can see it in their live. Um, it has my ID and your ID, and also I mentioned it in the story before. Um, so far so good. People ask about questions about writing resume for academic purpose,
Mm-hmm.
finding a good position in universities. Is it too difficult?
Mm, I would say probably not. The academic resumes that I've seen are more like CVs where it's a lot longer. And usually for those types of jobs, they have like research experience and like different projects that they've collaborated on. So it's not going to be their work experience, like say those casual jobs, but very much rooted in the research they've done and the different collaborations they've had, committees they've sat on. Those are like their own niche. Like it's very different.
And another question they asked, like, is it good to use the resume templates online?
Hmm. That, yeah. So some templates are good and others are not. I personally really like JobScan's resume templates. It's jobscan.co, and they're an organization that actually has a ATS software that's free for people to use if that's something they want. So you upload your resume on JobScan, and then they scan it and they let you know whether or not your job would get or your
Oh,
resume would get the job based on keywords. What I will say though, it's not as smart as it could be. So sometimes it like will not pick up a word because it's plural or something like that. But for the most part, it's a really good tool.
and also a very good question is that how about our LinkedIn friends? Should we accept everyone and the part of related, or where they rate our skills or suggest us? Like,
Mm-hmm.
who are the people who we have to connect and accept their connections? Is there
Mm-hmm.
any limitation on it?
Mm-hmm. There is a limit, but it's in the upper thousands. So I would not worry about that for now. When you're first getting started on LinkedIn, the main thing is to just add your friends, your former coworkers, just everyone that you know. And then once you start getting requests from strangers, it really becomes up to you to decide if they contribute to the quality of your network. I always say quality over quantity. So don't just accept like random people who are then they're gonna message you and try to sell you something or, be
Yeah.
weird. Definitely be selective and ask yourself, like, is this somebody who works in my field, or is this somebody who maybe I have a lot of mutual connections with? Because that shows that they're legit. Maybe they went to the same school. Just look for things in common when you accept people on LinkedIn.
I see. It's perfect. And also, someone asked that can you please send us some perfect resume and cover letter as sample, especially in engineering?
I could do that. Would engineering be the best field? I mean,
What I
Nadia.
suggest is that they can connect to you directly and ask your help
Mhm.
on
Yeah, I
your.
think I
Yeah.
think that sounds good because it sounds like this person works in engineering and they want a way to get their own cover letter and resume on point. So yeah, they can definitely talk to
Yeah,
me.
they can ask your help
Hmm.
directly in your Instagram.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, Stacy. It was very effective and very productive. I learned a lot, and I hope that everybody else did as well. As far as I can see from the comment section, everybody was happy. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation today and in such an early time in your country.
Yeah, of course. Thank
It
you
was 6
again.
a.m., right?
It was 7, was not that bad. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that people enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you also got something out of it. Again, best of luck with your interviews, and let me know if you need anything.
Yes, sure. I'll
Mhm.
definitely get back to you because it was very good, the help that you did.
Mhm.
Um, it was a game changer for me.
Mhm. Aw, that makes me so happy to hear. Well, I
Thank
hope you
you.
have a great rest of your day or your night
Nice.
actually.
Yeah,
And
it's 11
yeah,
p.m.
yeah. Oh wow. Okay, yeah. Have a good night, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a lovely
Mhm.
day. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. And I saved this live interview in my page so everybody who missed it, they can watch it again.
Okay.
Bye.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye.